The Great Betrayal. Hitler hits Stalin. In the lead-up to Germany's invasion of Russia, interesting things happened that led to this great betrayal. The story of Hitler's betrayal of Stalin is one of intrigue, deception, and dramatic twists. It's a tale of two ruthless leaders whose temporary alliance gave way to one of the most brutal conflicts in history, ultimately reshaping the world order. History revisited to where it all began. First, a relationship of convenience is born. Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin, two of the most infamous leaders of the 20th century, were once in an uneasy alliance. In 1939, the Nazi-Soviet pact was signed, shocking the world. This non-aggression treaty allowed Germany and the Soviet Union to divide Poland between them. For Hitler, it was a strategic move to avoid a two-front war. For Stalin, it was a way to buy time to build up the Red Army. Then, the inevitable deception and manipulation creeps in. Despite the pact, both leaders were deeply suspicious of each other. Hitler viewed the Soviet Union as his ultimate target for Lebensraum, or in other words, extra living space for the German people. Stalin, on the other hand, saw Hitler as a temporary ally at best. Their relationship was built on deception and manipulation, with both sides preparing for an inevitable clash. Then, there was the nagging worry of the state of the Red Army on Stalin's mind. The Red Army, under Stalin's command, was vast but not as formidable as it appeared. The Great Purge of the 1930s had weakened the Soviet military leadership, leaving the army ill-prepared for an immediate large-scale conflict. Stalin was aware of this weakness and was using the time afforded by the pact to strengthen his forces. We are attacking at dawn. Operation Barbarossa, the invasion begins. On June 22, 1941, Nazi Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. The Germans advanced rapidly, catching the Red Army off guard. Within days, they were closing in on Moscow. The speed and ferocity of the German assault were overwhelming. However, the tide began to turn with the arrival of the brutal Russian winter. German tanks and troops, unprepared for the freezing conditions, found themselves bogged down in mud and snow. The cold immobilized their machinery and sapped the strength of the soldiers. Then, the turning tide comes. As the harsh winter progressed, the Soviet Union began to mount a fierce resistance. The Red Army, now better organized and led, took advantage of the weather to launch counteroffensives. The Battle of Moscow became a turning point. The German advance was halted, and for the first time, the seemingly invincible Wehrmacht was forced to retreat. Then, more trouble for Hitler comes. Stalin joins the Allied forces. Realizing the need for stronger allies, Stalin joined the Allied forces, forming a crucial partnership with Britain and the United States. This alliance brought significant resources and opened new fronts against Nazi Germany, stretching its military thin. Finally, the final push. Stalin was determined to crush Hitler and ensure the Soviet Union's dominance in Eastern Europe. The Red Army began a relentless push towards Berlin, determined to put the final nail in Hitler's coffin. The fierce battles of Stalingrad and Kursk further weakened the German forces, paving the way for the Soviet advance, and eventually Hitler fell. He committed suicide before Stalin's Red Army captured him. Even though both Stalin and Hitler were tricky and untrustworthy, Stalin ended up as a survivor who cleverly used situations to expand Soviet power in Eastern Europe. It was a grim victory over his former ally turned enemy. Stalin survived.